Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to In The Crosshairs, brought to you by Line Sniper, your definitive resource for sports betting content and in-game analysis. Now, as always, I'm your host, Ali Melendez, here to deliver you the very best in sports betting, along with our team of expert analysts. And of course, for that team today, we have Mr. Joey KNISH'S to make sure we are all ready for the return of football as it lays out this week. Super exciting stuff. We have a ton to cover in the NBA playoffs as well, and of course in the MLB. So we're going to have the local hero, Sam Dusenberry, and the professor of sports betting, Red Dave, both here to take us through the playoffs and what's going down in the dugout. So a lot there to cover. All of that, best bets, and so much more on today's edition of In The Crosshairs. Now, if you'd like more, anything from betting strategy guides to betting 101, find all that good stuff on our YouTube channel at Line Sniper HQ. And do us a favor while you're there, just subscribe, why don't ya? Thank you guys very much. But all right, no more intros. It is time for sports, and it's time to make some money, our two favorite things. And to discuss both of those things, we have the commissioner of football, baby, Mr. Joey KNISH'S himself. He is going to talk about what else but football. Joey, how are you feeling this week? Are you so excited for Thursday? Talk to me, man.
Allie, we got, you know what? It feels like I'm at a little bit of a steak dinner. They just brought out the appetizer. We had a couple of games on Saturday, but now we're ready for the good stuff here. We got the Power 5 games coming back. We got the full slate. It's going to be the full Saturday where you got multiple games going on. You're flipping the channel, all that shit. I'm excited. I see you got your bobblehead friends there, which is a nice look, ready to go. So,
Thank you.
Hey, it's college football season. It's been a little bit of a ride to get here, but excited for the first full up Saturday.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Well, Joey, NFL kickoff is Thursday, but college football is already popping off the charts. We had games last week and all over the weekend. You advised the kids at home that Army was a solid bet, and boy, were they beating down Middle Tennessee and making sure we all took some cash away from that game. So, of course, thank you so much for that insight. Now, KNISH, let's keep your NCAA magic rolling here with some talk about the divisions, in particular, the Southeastern Conference. Now, Alabama is the heavy favorite in the division, but do you see any value here or bet on the sure thing? I mean, what are you thinking here, Joey?
Yeah, I mean, Alabama's obviously chalk, and you talk about what's happened at, Georgia over in the East, where they lost their starting quarterback, Jamie Newman. If there's one team that's got a little bit of a sleeper to them, they might be somewhat of a trendy sleeper, is Texas A&M. They brought a ton back. They've got Jimbo Fisher, it's third year. He's finally got the program building a little bit. The issue is, and again, now with the lack of home field, maybe this isn't as bad. They play Alabama very early in the season. Week 2, they're at Tuscaloosa. So that's the issue. Is if they drop that game, then they're already going to be behind the 8 ball. So as opposed to, lining up and, taking some big Texas A&M futures, it'd be one thing. I'd rather play them early in the money line in that game, in the head-to-head, and then if they lose it, maybe then, you get, a 50 to 100 to 1 something sprinkle on Texas A&M after that, if something happens with Bama. But I'll be looking, it's a team on the come-up. It's a team where if they're going to peak here, this is the year for it. Third year, they get that progression. If there's going to be a team to challenge Bama, this is the team. But am I going to jump on the futures early? No, let's just ride it out where I think week 2 there, we'll look at Texas A&M as a play on at Alabama as opposed to, laying the bet preseason. But again, Alabama's still the class of the conference. If there's somebody, though, that's going to rise up in their division, it's got to be Texas A&M this year.
All right, and it seems KNISH does not love the garnet and black from South Carolina, but he does see the Crimson Tide to sweep over the SEC as well, most people do. But hey, look at the Texas A&M and Florida for some value picks there. Now, KNISH, you've walked us through your NFL betting process a little bit before, and I wanted to get your insight on how at all you sort of have to modify your football betting strategy to work with college ball. So tell us a little bit about that process there, KNISH.
Well, I mean, this year is a year like any other where you have to dig so deep to find information around who played in the spring, who didn't, how many practices has each team had, who's actually eligible to play with the COVID. And this is a day-to-day changing thing. And the difference between the NFL is that, there's a regimented injury process. It's all disclosed. It's all at the same time of the week. It's much, much easier to get information on teams. When you're looking at teams like South Alabama, Middle Tennessee State, I mean, you might be talking about one or two reporters that even cover the team, much less, might be like the local, Gainesville newspaper down there that might have some information on it. And so you got to dig deep and try and find as many crumbs as you can. This year more than any other, with all of the changes and the COVID and the different circumstances, to find out. I mean, last night, it really wasn't widely known until the broadcast was happening that Navy had done zero contact practices up until last night was their first contact they've had, and they didn't do any preseason, contact practices. So in terms of live tackling, last night was the first game, and they lose by 50 points to BYU, and it showed. So those are things where if you can find those little nuggets, and again, quantifying it, not easy, but finding those things, to be able to find an edge or a little bit of a side there in a market, those are the things that can happen in college football that is just not, widely happening in the NFL.
Absolutely. And of course, something to remember is that these are just college kids. They're not pro football players. And obviously, you absolutely have to account for things like sleep schedule, classes, and all that stuff that can affect a student, obviously. Not to mention college parties, which, well, the less we say about that, probably the better. But KNISH,
we knew that was an old Ali Melendez gig there, the college parties.
Yeah, had to retire that for the real world, but that's for next time. But KNISH, before we let you go, let's get your update on your futures portfolio. Of course, we've been keeping track of all your big futures as they come in, sort of, to get a little look on how they pan out. So KNISH, why don't you take us through what's on your futures here, sort of update us on how you're feeling about them, and give us anything new that you have to add. We like to stay up to date with you on this.
Yeah, no, for sure. The folio for the most part here in pretty decent shape. The Rockets here, we won game one. I was feeling good. I still think that series is going to the wire. So we'll see, can they overcome and beat the Lakers? Hopefully. I think it goes 6 or 7. They've matched, the first two games have both been, tight affairs coming down to the wire. Then if we get to the Western Conference Finals and let's say it's versus the Clippers, which we expect, then you can kind of probably, we're looking at hedging and taking some profit there, as I don't like that matchup as much. Cubs leading the division. We'll talk about them a little bit later here, that division. Great price at 33. Padres team on the hot resurgence. It's going to be a little tough to overcome the Dodgers there, but it was a nice team to buy on. And our Heat down, 10-1. We've got the Bucks on the ropes. I thought we'd finish them off without Giannis, but that's going to be a great price. They're looking probably against Boston in the Eastern Conference Final, being somewhat of maybe only a 2-1, 250-1 dog there. So it'll be a nice opportunity to take some money out. As far as adding. And I know I've been after it all summer with these. Here's what happened. I did not want to lay any, chalk futures until we got somewhat of enough certainty, as we got closer to the season. But we've talked about it on a few shows. We've talked about it beforehand. I'm going to lay with the Cowboys in the division. NFC East, I think they're the cream of the crop. The Giants are not going to be in contention. I think it's too early for Washington. You saw Philadelphia in terms of teams that have had what I would say is the most hectic, negative, injury-filled training camps. Eagles are in that top 3. They've had multiple injuries to the offensive line. They've got a couple guys, that are banged up at the skill positions. It's going to be tough for the Eagles to start the season rolling well, and I think this is a price. And the reason why I take it now is, I like a couple of the early matchups for the Cowboys there, whereas if they start out 2-0, 3-0, I bet them in week 1 here coming up, minus 2.5, at LA. If they start out then that price totally gets away, and you're looking at minus 300, minus 400, past anywhere you want to play it. So that's one, just the way the schedule sets up early and what's going on with the other teams in the division. I'm going to buy it right now this week and finally fire on our Cowboys to take home the NFC East crown and hopefully make a run to the Super Bowl this year.
All right, well, obviously,
and I know you're with me on that. You might, Sam will come on here and say something else, but I know you're rolling with me on the Cowboys, so I'm not letting him off the hook there. I remember his Cowboys trash last week. I know you're with me here. Got the cowgirl hat on and ready to go here.
I know we can't talk about the Giants yet, but we'll definitely have a little debate on this after the show. But obviously, as far as the Cowboys go, they have got to be one of the most talked about teams just on this show alone. But Knish feels strongly about them to have a strong season. So hey, if that includes winning the NFC Eastern Division, we will see what pans out. Well, Joey, we will obviously keep checking up on your portfolio as these bets pan out. But for now, we're gonna let Mr. Knish sit out and of course take a rest as we walk away from football for a while and look at what is going down in the MLB and, of course, the NBA. Now, to talk about these two sports, first off, we're going to have to bring in our professor of sports betting, Red Dave. Now, Dave, how are you? Were you lucky enough to win those crazy 9-1 odds in the Kentucky Derby?
No, I was not. And yeah, I didn't even watch it, to be honest. I've been kind of just sweating bullets with the NBA playoffs right now. So that's where my mind is.
Hey, it's all good, dude. You know why? Because horse racing is done for now. It's a thing of the past, so no more of that. We do have the most exciting time of the year going on in the NBA bubble, and of course, that means playoffs. It is playoff time, and we have a lot of games to talk about. And Dave, we're going to get your take on the western side of this playoff bracket. So without further ado, let's jump right into tonight's Game 3, Lakers versus Rockets. Now, so far, it's been back and forth in the series between the two teams. Now, Rockets taking Game 1, Lakers Game 2. And last week, we had Ronnie Parson call a 4-1 series in favor of the Lakers. So, Red Dave, tell us, what do you think? Who wins tonight at 9 Eastern in Game 3? And who do you like to win the whole series?
Yeah, I think like Nish said, it's going to be a 6 to 7 game series. Before Game 1, I really liked the Rockets +7. I thought this was going to be a series of huge adjustments. And in Game 1, the Lakers didn't adjust very well to what I thought the Rockets would strategize against them. The Rockets won pretty handily. Game 2, they adjusted very well. They didn't play Dwight Howard. They played more Anthony Davis at the center, and they got like a 2010 Rondo game, which just blew my mind. I think he was like a +27 on the court, so that was unreal. And at the same time, they did a good job of trapping James Harden, forcing doubles and threw a 3-2 zone at them. Just gave them a lot of problems on the offensive end. And so for tonight, I kind of do like the Rockets +5. I wish they were a little bit higher, but I think they do make some adjustments to the zone. I think they position Westbrook a little bit closer to Harden so that when the double comes, they recognize it quickly and give the ball to Westbrook to try to run the lane and get there. So yeah, I'm not in love with it, but I would probably bet the Rockets here.
Wow, the back and forth betting we have on the Lakers and Rockets on the show is just absolutely wild. But, hey, it just shows how tight this NBA playoff actually is. And then, Dave, tomorrow night we have another second-round matchup. Of course, this is the fourth game between the Clippers and the Nuggets. Now, the Clippers currently leading 2-1 in the series. Dave, tell us your thoughts on Game 4. And do you buy into the hype behind the Clippers to go all the way to the finals? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I personally thought after Game 1 that the Nuggets were just hopeless. And I actually think after watching Game 2 and Game 3, Nuggets did really well in Game 2 by winning it. But I think Mike Malone has adjusted well. We saw some fantastic play from Jokic. And I thought even Ivica Zubac defended him pretty well. He's just playing amazing basketball right now. Jeremy Grant has done a good job of stopping Kawhi or, stopping him as best as can be. I still think it's going to be a tough series for them to take. I think they're going to be obviously huge dogs, but I would probably still take the Nuggets +8.5 tomorrow. I think they're just going to make some good adjustments. They seem pretty cohesive now with Gary Harris back, defending Paul George a bit. So I like their chances to be at least competitive in this game. And in terms of the Clippers going to the finals, the way the Bucks are looking, we might be looking at a Clippers Heat finals or Celtics finals. And what I love about the Clippers is that they're just so balanced, and they've yet to find kind of their rotation. But they could pretty much play whoever they want at this point. I haven't seen a single guy outside of maybe Montrezl Harrell that's kind of maybe not been playing up to his potential, and I think Harrell's just kind of a bit rusty. So I think they're the most well-positioned team to get through it all and make to the finals.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dave. And of course, that was Red Dave's coverage of the Western Conference right there. And we do have a whole other side of the bracket to look at, but of course, we're going to get to that in a little bit. Dave, first, I want to get to you to talk about, a little bit of baseball here. Obviously, there are so many sports going down. We have all kinds of games going on in the MLB as well, so it's important to talk about those. We've got the Red Sox and Phillies playing as we speak, and then we have a ton of games still to begin. So, Dave, you know your player props, and I know you know your pitching game, so who are you watching on the mound tonight?
I'm going to get right to that, but I need to backtrack a little bit because I left out some pretty good props there in the NBA. Just had a little brain slip. And the Rockets game, I really like James Harden to go over 43.5 points, rebounds, assists. And I like Covington to go over 19.5 points, rebounds, assists. I think they're both going to play huge minutes. They're going to attack the rim, score the ball a lot. And tomorrow, play Gary Harris over 15.5 points, rebounds, assists. The minutes are going to be huge. The emphasis on winning the game is going to be massive. I think these guys will all step up, and these are very good lines. And now back to baseball. In terms of tonight, I think Spencer Turnbull against Milwaukee is 5.5 Ks, and the under is -140. I would play that heavily under because, first of all, Milwaukee has a 5-run team total. So Turnbull might last like 3 or 4 innings. And also, he's a righty, and he's very good at striking out right-handed hitters. And Milwaukee is capable of throwing out 5 hitters that are left-handed. And a lot of them are not like very high strikeout rate guys. So like Ben Gamble, Jace Peterson, Christian Yelich, and there's like a few other guys too. So if they throw out a bunch of lefties, I think Turnbull's going to struggle here. It's not going to strike out too many guys. So, yeah, seems like a pretty good bet. I think he's going to land on like 4 or 5 Ks here a lot. So it's my best bet.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dave. And there you go, Red Dave giving us a little bit of action in the MLB and, of course, some NBA picks to help you guys win some cash money in the playoffs. Now, we love it, but as I mentioned before, we have the Eastern side of the bracket to discuss. So we are going to sub Red Dave out in the third quarter here and bring in Line Snipers, a local boy, Sam Dusenberry, to break it down in the East. So, Sam, how are you doing, man? How was your Labor Day weekend? Tell us a little something fun.
Ali, what's good? Look, it's another beautiful day. Every time I come on here, it's a beautiful day in YL. But I had a great Labor Day weekend. Went over to Van Cortlandt Park, did a little 5K hike. Couldn't really get into my, Eastern Parkway vibes, but I still got my jewelry on and all that stuff representing for my Labor Day, Caribbean posse. So we out here. So it was a good time. Enjoyed it. I hope you did as well.
Absolutely, I did. I'm so glad to hear it, Sam. Thank you so much for that. And of course, we've got more playoffs to go over here, so let's get after it. Now, Sam, I want to hear your take on Game 6, Celtics-Raptors. Now, tomorrow night, who wins? Can the Celtics close the series out in advance? Like, these are the things that obviously people need to know, Sam. So give it up. Tell us.
The Celtics are going to the Eastern Conference Finals. They will get it done tomorrow night. They've been handling the Raptors in every which way. Nick Nurse has been trying to strategize, trying to change up the scheme on the fly, but he doesn't have any answers for stopping 3 perimeter guys. He can maybe stop 2. He for sure could stop 1. But when it comes to 3, and Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum, they don't have enough bodies. So Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry have tried. They played almost every single minute of this series. Pascal Siakam has been locked in a torture chamber because of Jaylen Brown's defense. And Marcus All is looking ancient. So the Raptors don't have a chance in this. I think it's very lucky that they even got this far. If it wasn't for OG, they might be leaving the bubble already. So I think you take the Celtics with the 3 points. I think they get it done. I think they might even blow them out and just put them out their misery early. The Raptors have had a hard time shooting the ball. They've had some problems with depth. They've been exposed where all their starters have to play 35 to 40-plus minutes every game. It's looking like curtains for we the North.
All right, so the Celtics are looking to clinch their seat in the conference finals, and Sam says they will do that tomorrow night, sending the Raptors back to the Canadian North. And then, Sam, we have one more game tonight. It is Game 5 of Miami and Milwaukee. Now, we only have an hour and some change to get those bets in on that game, so give us the word on that. Who's winning tonight? Will the Heat end the series 4-1? And are there any good-looking player props tonight?
Stay away from the money line and the spread because we don't know what's up with Giannis. As you said, it's an hour before. He's still listed as questionable. We're not sure if he's going to play. But I do think there is some value with the player props. If Miami's going to finish this series like I think they will, and I think they will win tonight, I really do. But more importantly, if you want to get some money, Jimmy Butler, 21 and a half? That's it? That's the total points? Hit that quick, fast, in a hurry. Jimmy Buckets has to be the man tonight. He kind of was lackadaisical in the last game. Didn't really step up. Wasn't as aggressive as he was in games prior. When Jimmy Butler's at his best, he's attacking the rim with reckless abandon. I think Jimmy Butler gets that done whether Giannis is there on the court or not. He might even have a little bit of extra juice if Giannis actually does attempt to give it a go. But bar none, the Miami Heat are going to finish the job and take care of the Milwaukee Bucks. Jimmy Butler, 21 and a half? Give me the over.
I'm with you on that. All right, so later tonight, the Heat will end the playoffs for the Bucks and be the first team into the third round of the finals to face off against the winner of the Celtics Raptors, now which Sam says will in fact be the Heat. So hey, look forward to the Heat and Celtics in the battle for the East. That's going to be big. And Sam, we're fair here. We asked Red Dave about what's going down in the MLB, so of course you're getting the same. Now right now we have the Yankees sitting at third in the AL East and the Blue Jays just above them at second. Now these two teams face off tonight. So who do you like and who do you see, any money to be made? Is there money on the money line or player props tonight? I mean, talk to me about everything you see that has value here.
Well, the team from the Boogie Down Bronx, the Yankees, have been really trash over the last 19 games. They've only won 5 of their last 19 games. 16-6 start, gave people some false hope because of injuries. I know Stanton's out. I know Aaron Judge is out. And Aaron Boone's always shaky with the bullpen. But based off what they did last night, coughing up a 6-2 lead in the sixth inning, giving up 10 runs, the Yankees are in bad shape. They've lost 4 in a row. But it's the Blue Jays, and they're playing in Buffalo. And I don't know about you, Ali, but I'm turning on that Griselda, and I'm pumping it real loud if I'm the Yankees, and I'm trying to get a W. And I think with J.A. Happ on the mound tonight, the Yanks on that money line, you can get some value on the full money line, or because the offense has finally started to turn around for the Yankees, if you want to jump on that first 5 innings money line, I wouldn't be mad at you either there on the player prop, on the prop line. So either way, take the Yankees straight up on that money line, or do a little sticky play with the first 5 innings on the prop bet on the money line. But I think the Yanks snapped the 4-game losing streak, bounced back in a big way. The bats have started to heat up. Let's take it back to the Boogie Down. Throw up the X one time. Yankees get it done in Buffalo.
Yes, I hope so. I mean, we talked about obviously how the injuries were going to hurt the Yankees and how they'd have to fight back, of course. Well, the season is winding down, so it's only a matter of time to see what goes on with this game. And of course, it's a matter of time to see how they're gonna affect everything going on tonight with the injuries. And my brain is just so rattled because I really want the Yankees to get that W. But of course, from basketball to baseball, that is a rundown of, well, a lot of what's going on this week. But here we are still with more sports to cover, not to mention our best bets and more. And Sam, we're not gonna make you do all of that alone, don't you worry. Let's bring back Joey Knish and Red Dave to look over all of this action. All right. So guys, I have some more bets that I want to talk about before we move on. So I'm gonna have the guys here in the studio put some bets up for us, and we're just gonna, just tell me if it's a pick or a pass for you. That's all I want to know. Is there money to be made here? We gotta know it, guys. So we'll start off with the NBA playoffs and the Lakers-Rockets matchup. And let's look at player props in this game tonight. So 2 bets here. First, Russell Westbrook over 22.5 points at a price of -117. And then LeBron James also over 28.5 points, -118. What do we think here? Red Dave, this was your game today, so start us off.
Well, based on the way they treated Westbrook last game is basically we don't respect you at all. So it's going to come down to how Westbrook reacts to the defense that's thrown at him. Personally, I kind of like the under because most of his shots are going to be probably uncontested threes and long twos. I'm not really too confident in his ability to get to the rim on Anthony Davis here. So something seems a bit off about him, and hopefully he can prove me wrong. But for now, I'd probably take him under on that 22.5.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. Knish, what's your take on that?
I'm going to swerve and go over. I mean, Dave said it in somewhat of, they're just basically giving him whatever he wants. He can get an open 3 whenever he wants. He can get an open, and you have to see some regression to the mean here. I know he's not a great shooter, but at some point, I think he's going to at least knock down a couple here. So I'll go with over. I think I'm getting a little bit of a discount here. He's still playing a decent minute load. Anytime Harden, they've staggered the lineup where he's the primary ball handler when he's out of the game. So it's not one that, I'm rushing to the window to hit, but I'll go over on 22.5.
All right. Thank you, Joey. Sam, what are your thoughts here?
I'm going to go actually to the LeBron point. I think you go under with the point guard, Rajon Rondo, playoff Rondo back in the fold. LeBron doesn't have to do as much. If Rondo can pull off what he was able to do in the last game, 10-9 in a limited amount of time, he closed out the game being the real point guard on the floor. I don't think LeBron's going to be needed. Rondo and Anthony Davis have a great relationship from their days playing together with the Pelicans. When they made a playoff run, got to the second round, swept Dame Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers. Rondo's job is to feed the beast that is Anthony Davis. So that will come at the expense of LeBron James' points. So I would take the under for LeBron, 28.5.
All right, well, thank you for the insight, gentlemen. On to the next bet. So the Carolina Panthers, now Cam Newton-less for the first season since 2011. That's crazy. Over 5.5 wins at a price of -122. Under at +100. Or is this just a pass? I mean, Knish, you're the running NFL today, so go ahead, take it away with your thoughts.
I'm going to take the under at even money. I think this might be the least talented team in the entire NFL. It's going to be quite a transition for them. Matt Rule, if you look at, and I know college NFL, if you look at his coaching career, the first year and a lot of his stops, it was not kind to get them going into trying to transition into be a better team, working through the culture and that. I know they brought in Joe Brady. But it's very different when you're working with, basically, an NFL offense at the college level versus now going to, outside of McCaffrey, what's just not a very talented offensive team. And on the defense, they've had to rebuild. They've lost all of their old legendary starters year over year, Eachley, Starlo, Tilley. It's just a different team that's going to go through quite a struggle here. I know, in the NFL, you can usually win 3 or 4 games on the bump, but at +100, I'm leaning towards the under.
All right, thank you. Red Dave, what are your thoughts here?
I'm kind of leaning the same way. I just think this is kind of going to be a weird NFL season. A lot of things can go really wonky and sideways. And if the Panthers start out, let's say, like 1-7, are they really going to play their best guys all the time, or are they just going to try to rebuild? So in this particular year, I think I'd probably lean toward the under, if anything, yeah.
All right, Sam?
Yeah, this one's light work. I may not be Mr. NFL, but even I can realize that, the fact that the Carolina Panthers don't have much to offer on offense or defense or even special teams. Also, when you look at that division is super tough. When you have Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees in the same division, that could be problems. So for me, having that NFC South and going through that gauntlet, yes, I'm sorry for Teddy B and C-Mac got all that money. But all that money is not going to equal the wins this year. So I would stay away from that. Definitely smash the under.
All right, well, you heard it here, folks, and let's round it out with some MLB talk. And, of course, let's look at the divisional winners. So we're going to take a look at the NL Central here. Who's going to walk out of the NL Central? Cubs at -250, Cardinals +225. I mean, what are you guys thinking? Sam, go ahead. Take it away first, man.
Well, I think with the Cubs, the way that they've been smashing the ball on offense and kind of, on the low, pitching very well, I think it's easy money. I mean, it's the reason why they're -250. But I think with this, you got to play chalk and go with the Cubs. I trust that offense more so than any other in this division. The Cardinals are always there. They're a hated rival. I don't think they have enough to sneak up and catch them on the back end as we head down here to the finish. So I'll keep it chalk, and I'll take the Cubs in that high-powered offense.
All right, awesome. Knish, what about you, man?
Listen, Sam might not have the greatest takes on the Cowboys, but he nailed it here in the NL division, baby, because my Cubbies are taking it home. We're on them preseason. I'm not going to turn on them now. What do you think? I'm going to fade them now that the way we've got off the bump here? If anything, don't get me wrong. I think there's a touch of value there on the Reds 20-1. It's probably too late. You might be better off with the expanded field, taking a World Series or a pennant flyer as opposed to the division. But yeah, I agree. I think the Cubbies here, you Darvish NL Cy Young leader, and our Cubbies are going to finish it off and hopefully get us to the World Series.
Cool. Thank you, Knish. All right, Red Dave, go ahead and tell us what you think.
I hate to be the contrarian here, but I'd probably go with the St. Louis Cardinals here at plus 225. They're 9 games back. Well, not 9 games back, but they played 9 fewer games than the Cubs. They've got a really strong pitching rotation. Anything can happen, but for me in baseball, I generally almost always play dogs. So I'd take the Cardinals here.
So wait a second. So no one wants those 300 to 1 odds on the Pirates? Come on, guys. You got to live a little.
I'm good.
All right. No, thank you so much for that, gentlemen. Obviously, lots of good betting info on this episode. But let's get a little bit more. We always want more, and we have just the thing for that. It is your best bets. Now, we're going to go down the line here. Just give me your best bet of the week. Any bet, game, line, whatever you like to make yourself and the guys at home a little money this week. So, Joey Knish, you're the first bad boy. Let's hear it.
I'm going college football Saturday. My boys in College Park, the Louisville. I'm laying it versus Western Kentucky. Find them out there right around minus 11.5, minus 12. Ville brought a ton back on offense, improving defense. Struggled on D last year. They're bringing a lot back. Second year in the system. They've got an incredible amount of talent. Mikhail Cunningham at QB, loaded at wide receiver. I think this is too much for Western Kentucky. They're going through a lot of changes on offense. They got a new quarterback. I think this is just going to be a game where they just get outgunned, outscored. Louisville by 2 TDs. So I'll lay the 11.5 there this Saturday.
All right, thanks, Knish. And we'll take it over to Red Dave next. So, Dave, what you got going on?
Well, to play off from what Sam offered earlier, which is LeBron or 28.5 points, I kind of like that play, but I'd probably play LeBron both under 9.5 assists and over 10.5 rebounds here. So my thought process is that with JaVale McGee possibly sidelined for this game and Dwight Howard not seeing any minutes, those alley-oop attempts are going to be in rare form unless the AD, because they have no above-the-rim players anymore. So that means assists are going down. Rondo's coming there to play the point guard role a bit more. Bet that under 9.5. And then on the other side, LeBron's going to be rim running more to get offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. He's got to be there to board. I think with JaVale and Howard off the court, he goes from 8 rebounds per 36 to about 11. So look for LeBron to play big and playing less as a small point guard here tonight.
All right. Thank you, Dave. And my buddy Sam, you get the last bet of the show. So give us the moneymaker bet of the week.
Tonight, Bossman 99, a.k.a. Jay Crowder, 11.5 points tonight. What? Have they not been watching the games? This might be some free money. I don't want to jump out there and say it's free money, but it's looking like free money tonight with Jay Crowder, 11.5 points. He's been their best three-point shooter this entire series, which is surprising. I mean, Duncan Robinson's not even close, who's supposed to be the hired gun. Jay Crowder's been good for at least 2 to 3 threes a game. He's been aggressive, crashing the glass on the offensive side. So I think Jay Crowder might sneak out there and give you a 14 or 15. So 11.5, take that over for Bossman 99, a.k.a. Jay Crowder tonight.
All right. Thank you so much, Sam. All right. Well, look at us covering quite a bit of ground this episode. Lots of bets across the board. And, of course, the 3 best bets of our analysts, what they like and what they want you to win money in. And if you like any of those, snap them up before the lines move and win yourself some money courtesy of the team right here. Now, that is going to do it for today's edition of In The Crosshairs. And if you missed any of those bets or you just need to catch some of the advice we heard this week, you can find this episode, betting courses, and so much more. All of that on our YouTube channel, Line Sniper HQ. We'll be back at 4:30 Eastern on Thursday with all the sports going down this weekend and, of course, everything you need to up your sports betting game. That's what we do for you, baby. We love you. This has been In The Crosshairs, your definitive resource for sports betting content and in-game analysis. For the team here in the studio, I'm Ali Melendez. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.